I'm so glad that you're here. Stephen Tobolowsky, welcome to Pardon My Success.
Thank you.
Get ready, it's the new edition. Your favorite morning meditation. Hey, it's me, pardon my success. I'm a hot mess.
Thank you so much for coming on. You
Pleasure.
are an icon. You are so wonderful. I am so honored to have you on today. I was actually talking to someone recently where we were discussing character actors and the idea of, oh, you're that guy from, and I feel like you really embody that, where you have that face and that personality that everybody knows. Just going through your IMDb, it's insane. Like I don't even know. Like, can you just kind of walk us a little bit through how you started?
There's a lot of good luck involved, and there's a lot of strange situations happening. One of the first big movies I did was Mississippi Burning, where I played the head of the Ku Klux Klan. So up until this point in time, I had hair. I was a guy with hair. I still had glasses, but nobody really thought, oh, this is a guy who does comedy. And I remember my audition for Mississippi Burning and Alan Parker. I had just broken up with my girlfriend of 16 years.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Like, talk about your heart and soul being ripped out. So I get this audition, and her name was Beth, which is an important part of the story.
Okay, all right.
And so my agent calls up. I'm in such despair, and he goes, "Oh, I have good news. You're going to meet Alan Parker for this movie, Mississippi Burning." And I knew Alan Parker's work, and I really liked him. I went, "Oh, okay, who cares?" So I went in for that first audition. I sat in the chair, and there was a golf course outside, and Alan was talking to me. I was just watching the golfers, like, "Yep, just hit the ball, go in the hole." Right, okay. And I went through my speech. I love Mississippi. People hate Mississippi. I just went through the Ku Klux Klan speech, and I got like a callback, like a week, later.
God.
I went like, oh. So I went in and met with Alan again, and I did the callback, and same thing. I still had no idea what I was saying or doing. I was in such despair. I wasn't even thinking about the project. Now, this is the first important thing about creativity: is don't put the prize ahead of the work. Don't think, oh, I got the job. No.
Yeah.
I didn't have the job. So anyway, then I got called in for my third audition.
Oh my gosh.
Which was, now I started to get blood in my fingers and toes, and I'm starting to get nervous. And I go to the office, and there's some good people in there. There's like Gary Sinise and other big
my
people,
God.
read for the part and all this kind of stuff. And I knew Gary from Chicago and all this. I go, well, these are pretty good people here. And the secretary, now here's some good fortune. The secretary leaned over and goes, "Mr. Tobolowsky, I just want you to know, Mr. Parker likes you a lot. He said that a lot of people come in here for this role and they try to be scary, but you're scary naturally."
Just because you are so sad.
So
You're just
depressed.
so unwell.
Didn't
Oh
care.
my God.
So I did the third audition, and then I got a fourth audition in Jackson, Mississippi, where
my
we were
God.
going. So they were going to fly my little buttocks over to Jackson, Mississippi, which happened to be where my girlfriend lived.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. It gets even worse.
No.
So they put me up at the Holiday Inn. So I'm supposed to be at the Holiday Inn. This was before stalking was cool. I'm thinking like, I could stalk Beth. It's possible, because it's been now like 6-8 weeks or something since
Yeah.
we broke up. She could have gone back home to lick her wounds and be with her family. I rented a car
No.
and drove to Beth's house. I scooped down low to where, like I'm down under the window.
Just eyes
Yeah,
driving.
right.
Yeah.
I'm like this. And I see her sister walking through the living room. I'm thinking, okay. Oh, and then there's her mother, Liddy, walking through. Oh, God. Well, I know Liddy. I like Liddy. Should I just go knock on the door?
No.
Stephen, this is evil. What you're doing is just wrong. get back. My audition was at 1 o'clock. Now it's like 12:30. I said, get your head out of this. You think of the future. Don't think of this. Move on. So I went back to the Holiday Inn. Just in time, I went to the little hotel room where Alan Parker was, knocked on the door, came in, and there was just a little light on a table at one end of the hotel room. He says, you can go sit in the light there, Stephen. I'm going to film you from here. So I sat down. He says, before we do the scene, I have a question to ask you. Last night I had dinner with your ex. Why did you two break up? And I said, Alan, because we had a big disagreement as to what constituted a joke. And he goes, very good, let's do the scene. So then I do the scene, the Mississippi burning scene. I leave the office. By the time I get to my hotel room, the phone is ringing. It's my agent, says you have the part. And I am almost certain it is my answer to Alan Parker about him going out with Beth as to why everything was so cool. And it turned out that Alan Parker became a great teacher of mine. On the set, oh God, this man is so dear to me. I cannot tell you what he means to me, May. So on the set, I was supposed to be there for 3 weeks, something like that. Because of the weather patterns, there were a lot of thunderstorms and things like that in the area, and I had a big outdoor scene with like 2,000 extras.
Oh my God.
Like Klansmen and all this stuff, it was a big Klan rally with torches and stuff.
Oh my
So
God.
they had to wait because in that part of the world, you have a regular weather pattern of rain, then rain, and then rain, and then rain. So they just gave me a run of the picture contract. So now instead of being on the picture for 3 weeks, I'm on for 3 months. So Alan Parker the next day comes to my trailer and knocks on my door and says, Stephen, since you're going to be here a while, I thought maybe you'd like to follow me around and watch me do what I do. Maybe I hear you're interested in directing. Maybe, you can watch and ask me questions, whatever. So I go, sure. For the next several weeks, I follow Alan Parker around into every aspect of filmmaking. And it gets later on, I'm in one of these DP scenes, the director of photography, and we're sitting there. There's the cinematographer. There are all the people. And Alan goes, wait, everyone stop. Stephen, how would you shoot this scene? And it was my scene, the Ku Klux Klan scene. I said, well, Alan, I guess I first start off with a wide shot where you get to see all the people, and then, then a close-up of me coming out on stage. And no, terrible. You would never do anything like that. That's terrible. No, not at all. This is what we're going to do. And Alan would do all this kind of stuff. Anyway, the same casting director on Mississippi Burning was the casting director of Groundhog Day. Howard Fuhrer.
That's crazy.
Here's a drink to Howard Fuhrer.
Thank you, Howard.
Love of my life. So now they're casting Groundhog Day after Mississippi Burning, and Howard Fuhrer tells Harold Ramis, there was this actor we worked with, we really liked a lot on Mississippi Burning. Maybe you want to see him for Groundhog Day. So because of Harold Fuhrer, I ended up in a drama where I play a Ku Klux Klansman and Ned Ryerson.
Those are two very different parts.
Right. And that is the secret of everything, of all the parts on the IMDb. Because a lot of people didn't know if I was a dramatic actor or a comic actor. And so different people would say, oh, can you do this? Oh, can you do this? So I played like nasty guys, like in Single White Female. And I played comic guys in Garfield and all sorts of other things. So most people, what happens in this business a lot is, in every business, people want to do as little work as possible. That's what we want to do. We're loving that. And so They go like, well, this is what he does. And it's not really typecasting, but they don't want to take any chances. So they go like, well, he did this in Mississippi Burning, so I know he could play the crazy racist.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's cast him in another crazy. We're not taking a chance. We know who he is. And the same thing with Ned Ryerson. We know he does wacky comedy. We know he does these big broad characters. Let's cast him as this. And so that helped me a lot. And, it all came full circle as Andy McDowell asked me if I would take her to the premiere of Groundhog Day to keep guys away from her, because she's so beautiful. And
She's stunning.
and she knew that she was totally safe with me.
That's really sweet, though.
It
That's really
is.
sweet.
And there, as we're walking in, there at the front is Alan Parker. And I walk up to him and I said, Alan, I am the biggest idiot in the world. Here I am, a Mississippi Burning, and I had no idea the gift you were giving to me for all those months, taking me to every aspect of filmmaking, teaching me what to do, what not to do. You gave me a master's course in direction. I'm such an idiot. I just thought all huge world famous directors invite actors to follow them around and watch it do. And he goes, oh, shut up, just shut up. You just better be good in this movie, And I go, I hope so. I hope so. So it was, all of the things on the IMDb come from that Alan Parker tree that yielded both Mississippi Burning and Groundhog Day. Most people don't have that fluke. I don't even want to say good fortune because it could be bad fortune too, but most people don't have that in their career. Usually, if you're a young guy, you are aiming to play the young, handsome leading man parts or the goofy neighbor. And when I was younger, I wasn't goofy enough looking to play the goofy neighbor part, and I wasn't handsome enough to play the handsome leading guy part. So I really wasn't good for either of them according to the casting world. So it was just fortune that this worked out.
How did you kind of get started in acting? Like, how old were you when you really began your craft, you feel like?
May, where does it all begin?
Where does it begin?
I got to tell you, it begins probably when I was in single digits, and I grew up kind of in the woods. I grew up in a kind of a wild area, and everybody wanted to play cowboys and Indians, and everybody wanted to play bank robbers. And me, I said, well, why don't we play making movies? And they go, how do we do that? I go, it's the same as cowboys and Indians, except instead of really being cowboys and Indians, we're just pretending to be cowboys and Indians. It's the same thing. I said, we're just
Very
making
meta.
because I thought movies were real. I thought when I grew up, I wanted to have adventure. I thought I want to be on that ship on the high seas, and I want to meet Godzilla. I thought Godzilla was real. I saw Godzilla when I was like 2 years old. For some reason, my father took us to a family movie theater to see Godzilla. It's way too young to introduce a child to Godzilla. And I thought it was a documentary. I didn't think it was a movie. I had no concept of fiction. I thought, you mean this is what the world is?
That's
Like
what's happening out there.
this big dragon is going to be walking around destroying
Oh my
Tokyo
God.
and blasting everybody with fire? No, God, no, this is horrible. So, but it traumatized me into wanting to. And so when I was growing up, I did all the plays at the parks, the city parks in Dallas. Wilbur Takes His Medicine and The Ghost of Hoot and Holler. All
Yes.
these great classics, and A Case for Two Detectives. All these. And, I ended up winning, like second best midget actor. That's what they called it. It was Pee-wee, midget, junior, and senior. Senior actors were, I think, 14 years old was the cutoff. So I started with Marcia Housewright. We were Hansel and Gretel. I think we were 5 and 6, and I had to kiss Gretel on the cheek when she went to bed. We're sleeping in the woods,
Uh-huh.
and our director said, "Now kiss her on the cheek and feed her a strawberry." And I got to tell you, it was the hottest thing in my life. I was going like, "Oh my God," because my lips touching Marcia Housewright's cheek, I was like, "Oh my God." It was too much for me. It was way too much excitement. And feeding her the strawberry. Unfortunately, my bedtime then was 8 o'clock. And so I finished the play, and then I had to come home and go to bed, and I didn't stay for the awards ceremony at 8:30,
No.
and I would have known that I was awarded second best Pee Wee actor. And I've always wondered what happened to the first best Pee Wee
Yeah.
actor. I wonder if he just fell by the wayside, or
Where
if
is
I'm
he
dealing
now?
with him now out here in California.
It's
But
Brad
then,
Pitt, actually.
yeah, Brad Pitt. I got my equity card and started acting in Dallas, and I became a leading man in Dallas. I played Jesus in Godspell and all sorts of things like that. I had hair then. I was like, I looked like a wild Texas boy. And so I got my SAG card. I did my first SAG movie when I was still in college. And I was just saying, who needs this educational process? And then I came out to LA with my girlfriend and
Beth?
with Beth, came out with my girlfriend Beth. And then, let's see, we went to college together and we went to 1 year of graduate school together. She was a year behind me, poor kid. And then she was saying one day that she didn't think she wanted to be an actor anymore. She wanted to be maybe a writer. And I said, well, baby, one of us should be like a dental hygienist. Someone's going to have to pay the bills
Stable job. Yeah.
because between an actor and a writer, no. And so Beth started writing and all this kind of stuff. And then I couldn't take school anymore. It's just the whole bureaucracy of school was too pitiful and awful and horrible. And so I came out to Los Angeles. I said, might as well try out here. And then Beth came out with this thing like this tome, this huge thing. And she said she had a family tragedy at the time. Her grandfather got lost in the woods.
Oh my
Then it
God.
turned out to be not a tragedy. They found him after 3 days and he was alive and they fed him and they were telling jokes. So she's writing this play called Old Granddaddy's Dying. The play was not only good, it was stratospheric. So then, as in a metaphor for the best of sex, we get to the very end of the play. She's still typing the last page. I'm finishing the next to the last page. She hands me the last page. I read it and I go like, Beth, this play is the best play I've read ever. Like, this is so good. This play will be on Broadway, but you cannot have a title like Old Granddaddy's Dying. I mean, you can't, that's a real buzzkill. No one's going to come see that play. And she said, well, I may call it Three Mississippi Sisters because I love Chekhov's Three Sisters so much.
That's a good one.
And I go, still Three Mississippi Sisters? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And she said, well, what would you name it? I would say, well, since the youngest daughter is on trial for shooting her husband because he was beating her up, in trial, what they would call it is a crime of passion. Why don't you call the play Crimes of Passion? And she said, okay. So she changed the name to Old Granddaddy's Dying to Crimes of Passion. So we were going to do Crimes of Passion as a equity waiver play in Los Angeles. I was going to play the young lawyer. She was going to play Babe. We had other playing Meg and someone else playing Lenny. And a friend of ours was going to play Doc. We had all these characters for Crimes of Passion. And the woman who was going to play Meg in this, she actually had an agent. She was the only one of us that had an agent. So the agent he didn't like to read plays or anything like that, but he had a boyfriend who, when boyfriend came from New York, he would give him a stack of plays to read. So Richard gave Gilbert a stack of plays. the first play on top happened to be Crimes of Passion. And we get a phone call from Kennedy Airport. This is Gilbert Parker. Could I please speak to Beth Henley? And I go, sure, yeah. So I give the phone to Beth, and Beth is like on the phone and like making faces like, you know, all this kind of stuff. And I go, what is it? What is it? She was going like, and she hung up. It was the head of literature at William Morris in New York. And he represented Lillian Hellman and worked with Tennessee Williams. And he wants me to be a client. He wants to do it, but he says that you can't do Crimes of Passion because Ken Russell is doing a movie called Crimes of Passion. And even though you can't copyright a title, it's probably not good if my first play has a title of a movie that's coming out. So what other title can I use? And I said, well, instead of Crimes of Passion, Crimes of the Heart. So Beth's play, Crimes of the Heart, ended up winning the Pulitzer Prize. She was in People magazine of the 50 most amazing people of the year. She had a page. Because here she was, this little girl from Mississippi who turns in this one play that happens to be incredibly stratospherically brilliant. And so Beth became rich and famous. And, you know, the Crimes of the Heart was done as a movie with Diane Keaton and with, you know, it was nominated for Academy Award, Best Movie, Best Screenplay, all this kind of stuff. All of this. And you know, it was this huge move from being somebody who was looking to maybe work as a dog walker somewhere to like being incredibly famous and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, we moved from our little house to a house in the hills with a swimming pool, and swimming pool, movie star, dee. So it was wild. It was wild. And then we broke up. So that was that arc. But because of that, because of Beth, you know, I met David Byrne. David Byrne wanted to do a movie, Talking Heads movie, and he was working with Jonathan Demme on, you know, Stop Making Sense, I think was the film at the time. Jonathan was filming that. And Jonathan wanted to do the film of Crimes of the Heart. So he David Byrne said, well, you should meet Beth Henley. So David came over to our house and he shot a video of Road to Nowhere, pretty much in our backyard. So if you watch Road to Nowhere on the internet, there's underwater scenes. That was in our swimming pool. And then David was wanting to do this movie called True Stories. And I asked him what it's about. And he says, well, you know, all these weird things that happen that are incredibly weird but true. And Beth said, well, you ought to talk to my sweetie because he has all these weird things that happen to him. He can hear tones. He can hear colors and tones and things like that. He hears notes from people. And David goes, you hear tones from people? And I go, well, David, it was a thing that happened in college. We were at a movement retreat. I was a sophomore. Beth was a freshman. And I'm holding hands with all the people in our little movement class. And everybody's going around the circle. And the teacher is saying, say the first thing that comes to your mind. And they're going like, Hobbit, Hobbit, Gandalf, Hobbit. It was big at that time. And they got to me and I said, I suddenly hear the sound in my head and colors kind of came into my head. And I said to our teacher, I get that you're not who you say you are, that you have an assumed name and your real initials are JK or JL. And then there's a big pause. And then people went on, deet, 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 deet. Well,
Hobbit.
Hobbit, Gandalf, all this kind of stuff. And then the class ended out by the lake. I'm headed for my car. From the shadows comes my teacher, and he takes me by the arm. He says, "Why did you say what you said?" And I said, "I don't know. I just saw these colors in my head, and I heard this sound, and I just said what it said to say." He says, "Because it's true. I have an assumed name. My initials are JK. Why did you say that?" I said, "I don't know." So I told Beth this story. She wasn't there in the circle. And she goes, "We are going to make a fortune. We're going to get you in a room and you're going to hold people's hands, and then you're just going to say stuff, and people, they could give you a quarter or a dollar." And so we did that for money. And Beth and I, we saved up. It was our first $16 we ever made. We had in a jar that I would hold people's hands, and I'd hear and I'd see color tones and all this kind of stuff. So I told this story to David Byrne while he was shooting the Road to Doom. And so I ended up being the screenwriter for True Stories.
Oh my God.
Yeah, with Beth, and David really rewrote the whole thing. David really did all the work. But anyway, turned in everything and didn't hear from David for like a year. And then I'm driving in the hills, and I'm driving in the car. Then I hear knock, 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 knock. I turn, and there's David Byrne on a bicycle next to me. "Roll down your window. Roll down. Are you going to be by your house later today? I need to talk to you." And I go, "Well, sure, David, sure." So David comes over to my house, one of my greatest moments in my life, with his guitar. And he said, "I just couldn't get over your story of the tones, so I wrote this song to put in the movie, and I want you to hear it." And there in my living room, David played Radiohead. "Radiohead, I'm picking up something good. Radiohead." And so this is how I ended up in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because the band On a Friday in England, whatever, they loved David Byrne, and they loved True Stories, and they loved the song Radiohead, so they changed their name from On a Friday to Radiohead. And so that came from David's song, which came from my story of sitting around, hearing tones from my teacher, and reading people's minds and brains.
You created Radiohead. Wow.
Well, not really. David
you did.
David Byrne created Radiohead.
David Byrne. You inspired.
I inspired a great artist to write a song, and so this is my way into the Hall of Fame. So that was a unique experience, and that was a strange thing that's been a part of my life. Was doing this, because whenever Ann and I now have been married for 35 years. Wow. And whenever anything weird happens, she says, "Use it. Use your power now. Mm-hmm. I want to know what's going to happen."
That's amazing. Does it only work if you're touching people? Do you have to be touching them?
No. It doesn't. But it's gotten me into as much, more trouble than not. You know, I play the piano.
Yeah.
Anne said, "I have a really special birthday present for you." And so I defy you to use your ESP to tell me what this present's going to be. I go, "Baby, I don't want to do this. Man, I want to play this game. You know, homie don't want to play this game." So anyway, I said, "Okay, I'll tell you." And so she kept nagging me. So I said, "I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to write down what the birthday present is. I'm going to write it down." I wrote it down. Put it in a sealed envelope. I'm going to put it on your computer, and now we don't touch it. And then on my birthday, when it's not true, you can look at this and we'll all have a good laugh. So what I wrote down is that I'm going to play the grand piano on stage at Disney Hall. That's what I wrote down. I'm going to Disney Hall, and I'm going to play the grand piano on stage at Disney Hall. So anyway, it's time for my birthday. And Ann said, "Well, we're going out to dinner, And it's a really kind of special dinner. So maybe if you could maybe dress up a little bit, like maybe wear a coat and a tie. I go, okay, okay. And she said, I said, where are we going? She said, well, just drive and kind of head toward downtown. The restaurant is right across from Disney Hall, so it may be good if you park in the basement of Disney Hall. I'm going like, okay, okay. So park in the basement of Disney Hall. Come up the elevator, and there's my friend, cinematographer Robert Brinkman, with a briefcase that has my music in it. And he goes, Stephen, here's your birthday present. And we walk to Disney Hall. The janitor opens the door. There's all Disney Hall. Center stage is their grand piano. And they say, you have an hour. And I said, you got to be kidding me. And right now I know I'm going to be murdered. I'm going to be absolutely murdered. But I sat down. They handed me my music. I played, and it was phenomenal. The thing about it that I learned is that when you're playing at Disney Hall on the piano, the report of the piano off of the back wall, it's like nothing. It's like it's right here. You know, it has no sense of distance. The acoustics are so perfect. You can hear and you can feel the report just so everything. So anyway, we got home and it was pretty vicious. She assumed I had broken into her computer and had looked up this and looked up that and deep. But
She's like,
you
how
know me.
could you have done it?
You know me, I can't even make Zoom work.
Yeah. You can't hack into things.
How can I hack into a computer? So that was
But
that.
that's insane. So you
It's
just it
insane.
just comes to you. It really
just
just comes to you.
It comes to me, and the thing is, sometimes it's wrong, and sometimes it's right, but in ways I never expected.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is interpreting it too, and it's just so I just kind of let it go.
Yeah.
I call it
No.
intuition, and I assume
Yeah.
everybody's got it. It's just that
I
they're
think
not
everyone
used to
does.
hearing it.
Do you think that's really helped you in like creating characters and in acting at all?
I'm sure it has. I think all it really means is that somehow there's a screw in my head that tells me to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hear different things. So I hear kind of intent in the script. So sometimes if scripts are really good, you know, I kind of hear the voice of the script very clearly. And I kind of understand. I think it was George Bernard Shaw said, in casting any play, the most important thing is casting it like an octet, you know, 8 instruments, whatever, that the instruments have to be balanced, and you have to know what part you're playing. And a lot of times in TV, especially, but also in film, don't have really a big chance to rehearse. You don't have a lot of time to prepare. Whereas theater, like on Broadway, when I did Broadway, I had 10 weeks rehearsal.
Oh wow.
You have plenty of time to figure out where the tone of the script is. So with TV and film, you don't have that time. So in a way, I think some of my success is being able to hear kind of what the tune is of the material
Yeah.
and play the part I'm supposed to play. But also it kind of leads me astray because sometimes the people who wrote it, it was written by committee, you know, written by a lot of people. And so there isn't really a real tune, and they don't know how to answer that question, or there is an inconsistent kind of melody in the script, and
There are
that
too
makes
many
it difficult.
people trying to create at the same time. Yeah.
But I think my ability to read and interpret like the scripts, I think are pretty good. I think that's been something that's been on my side.
What would you say your favorite medium is of creativity?
Well, I love writing. If I could count that, I love writing.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
when I got hurt in 2008, I broke my neck, and there
Oh my
wasn't
God.
much I could do. I couldn't act. So the doctor told me I had a fatal injury, which Obviously, I didn't.
Yeah.
I was saying, well, Doc, words have a meaning, and fatal means I'm dead, and I'm
Yeah.
not. So it's not a fatal injury, but I couldn't do anything. Couldn't really do anything. So I thought, what if I died on that mountain? What would I want my boys to know about their dad? So I started writing these true stories from my life, which became the Tobolowsky Files podcast, which is on Apple Tunes now. And Simon and Schuster did 2 books of my stories. So it's like, oh, it began this whole other career. So writing is something that I really love doing. Other than that, in terms of really the acting medium, I love doing theater. I love doing theater. I love the rehearsal process and being able to do it right. I've been lucky in terms of television. Television really has the shortest rehearsal period. You don't have a prayer. When you go in on a sitcom and you're a guest actor on a sitcom, not a regular, but guest actor, you get that script on like day 1 and you're shooting it on day 5. And maybe if you're lucky, you have a couple weekend days in there that you could study, but you have no time. No time. So you're really shooting from the hip on all that stuff. So it's fine. Like when I was doing One Day at a Time, I love that because I was working with the greatest cast in the world. I was working with the greatest producers, the greatest writer, Norman Lear. It was just magical. And it was a great, great, great experience. And working on the Goldbergs, I got to tell you, man, that was phenomenal. Those people make problems go away. And this is what good producers do. I did something when I was doing one episode of the Goldbergs and I was walking in the park and I did that I've fallen and I can't get up.
Oh.
I don't know what I did, but eventually I found out I had torn my meniscus. So I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. So I hopped on one leg back home and I called the Goldbergs up and I said, I got a problem. I can't come in today. He says, well, you can't come in. What's wrong? I said, I hurt my leg. I can't walk. I can't move. And the AD, Gonzo, so good. These people are so good. He says, drive up here. Text me when you get to the parking lot. I'll have a golf cart there. I will pick you up. I will drive you to your trailer. I will drive you to the set, and you will not have to walk today. Like this. The problem was solved, and so I'm playing the principal of the school, and I do the scene like leaning against the blackboard, and I'll tell you what, kids, da, 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 da. I didn't have to move, and then they all help me back onto the golf cart and drive me to my car, and I leave and I come home.
Oh my gosh.
These are people who solve problems. Now, you work on some TV shows that create problems. But that's the difference between the shows that are wildly successful, like Silicon Valley, brilliant people at the top, Alec Berg, oh, Mike Judge, oh my God, these people are the best ever. and they're just terrific. And that was like One Day at a Time. Those people were great, great, great people. And they're the ones who make the show go. The producers, the writers, they make it happen.
What would you say is, you don't have to use any names, but like worst experience on a set?
God, there's so many. So many.
Goodness.
I don't know where to start with this one, but I've been so lucky. I work with Ridley Scott on Thelma and Louise. That's
amazing.
So great. Great people. I mean, Susan, and I mean, they're just so great. Brad Pitt,
It's funny. I'm at the acting studio right now taking classes where Brad Pitt studied for Thelma and Louise.
Yeah, Brad Pitt.
That's so
random. I'm like, we're shooting at this place in Burbank, which was like I guess some utilities building, and we're turning it into some other set, but we're shooting in there, and this guy, Brad Pitt, is sitting behind me, and I have no idea who this guy. I'm looking back, oh, he's the handsome guy. Oh, God. Oh, these poor young actors starting out. And so Brad leans over and says, Mr. Tobolowsky, if you like, you could sit in my chair. I think it's much more comfortable than yours. You know, it's lower to the ground, and I think, I'm really. I go, it's okay, Brad, it's okay. I go, Mr. Tobolowsky, I'm about to go get some snacks. Would you like anything from the snack table? I could get you some tea or coffee or a donut.
He's a Midwestern king. He's from like my area. I love that. Yes.
And I was like, Brad, it's okay. It's okay. Okay, Mr. Tobolowsky. And he goes and he comes back. He goes, well, I got a little extra if you. I go, Brad, listen, the more you talk to me like this, the older and uglier I feel. You got to stop now. And then I'm walking down Wilshire Boulevard, and out comes Ridley Scott from a building. He goes, Stephen, I just finished editing the film, and it's good. It's going to be good. Oh, my God, I can't believe it. And we hugged each other on Wilshire Boulevard. I'm going like, what a freaky involvement. Then I go see the premiere of Thelma and Louise, and then I see this guy, Brad Pitt, and I'm going like, oh, my God, is he great? He steals the movie. You know, he's so phenomenal in a movie that's that good. Mm-hmm. To have a performance like Brad's that's that great. No wonder the guy's a superstar. Plus, he's very courteous.
I'm so glad that you've had such a great experience, and like you're an icon, just to say the least. And I really, really appreciate you coming on here and just sharing your tales with us.
My pleasure.
Yes.
And can I sing your praises for a second?
Yeah, please.
Yes. You are great, May. You are so great. And in the situation that we were in, you were a rock. And what people need when they work with somebody who's organizing and putting everything together, an actor needs to feel that they have a rock there. And you are that rock. You are dependable. You are truthful. And you're fast. You're able to do it all so fast.
Yep, that's me.
That's you. Anyway,
Gonzalez.
Yeah, but thank you too. Thank you for how great you are at what you do. Just terrific.
That means so much. You are amazing. It's been such an honor working with you and getting to know you over this time. And like you from the beginning, I had told you this already. We watched traditionally Groundhog Day, every Groundhog Day, my entire life growing up. That was like a rule in our house. And it was that and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles on Thanksgiving. But Groundhog Day was like, it was a staple in our home. I know that movie front to back. I'm just so grateful that you were willing to talk to me and come on here. And your tales are absolutely insane and so incredible. And I can't wait for this to come out. And I'm really appreciative. Genuinely, you were
my pleasure. My pleasure.
Well, last but not least, are you feeling any ESP senses in the air that you could maybe give us a prediction for our future here at Pardon My Success?
Well, I can tell you that the world is changing right now. Mm-hmm. I feel it just like the caterpillar on my wall is feeling it. Like, should I turn into a butterfly, or am I just going to be crow food? The world is changing right now. And it's changing very rapidly. Mm-hmm. And some of it's for the good and some of it is for the not good. So the main thing you have to do is you have to remember the dream you had that got you going when you got out of bed this morning, because that's the thing that's going to motivate you through everything. And just tell the truth, keep going, and don't let the noise bother you, because there's a lot of noise now. And more noise, the faster the world gets, the more noise there is. So just cut the noise down and follow that dream, girl, wherever that dream may take you.
I hope so. Well, the whole impetus of the podcast and my dream is to be the youngest EGOT holder on Earth. So,
oh, right.
That's the dream. That's the goal.
Okay.
We're making it happen.
it's a good dream. So make it happen. And just remember that sometimes it happens slow, but sometimes it happens fast.
Yeah.
And it's not the same tempo for everything. Sometimes it's like this, and then it's like everything happens all at once.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I agree. Thank you so much, and we will definitely have to have you on again soon.
You got it.
Thank you so much, Stephen.
Adios.
Bye.
Thank you, mate. Bye-bye.
Are you PMSing?